And it's going to be happening, and it is happening right now. Good evening, everyone. It is Trending Thursday. We want to know what's trending in your world, but right now we're trending. Of course we are. This is Carol Sue, aka Donnie Boss, live with you.
Sisters. Hey, good evening, everyone. This is Janice, aka Wellness Diva 5.0. Yes, I am bundled up. Yes, the two amazing women that I am with this evening are wearing kind of strapless, their shoulders are showing. And one of them happens to live in the same state as I do. So, what are we going to do here? Anyways, let's get the conversation going. Carol, so as we always invite our guests on, I think one thing is so important that we've always chatted about is self-care. So we want to give a warm welcome to our Trending Thursday at Night guest, Jenny Lee. Welcome to the two.
Welcome. I'm using my arm to make my clap because I don't have my my normal setup. I'm in Fort Lauderdale at a hotel. And so that's what we love. We love that we can do our podcast anywhere. But yes, self-care, Jenny Lee. What would you say is like one of the worst things that people do in lack of their self-care?
Thank you so much for having me, Janice and Carol Sue. Self-care with my work, I think like after doing that for a couple of years, I feel that self-care is probably a little shallow. It's probably like, on the surface, right? Everybody's talking about self-care. But what is it about really? I guess when you're in this really depleted, exhausted state, it's really important, right? To be to kind of survive. And at that point, what is the best thing for you to do to get back to the normal baseline so that you could function like a human again? But my work that is focused on joyful morning routine is really to reprogram your mind and your body so that you are again accustomed to being happy, accustomed to joy. You've healed your nervous system so that you don't live in this trauma response anymore. Mm-hmm. Right? And so that because you're so used to doing fun things in the morning, first thing in the morning, on a consistent basis, that joy, that happiness, that becomes you.
And that's so true because it's almost like you said in your bio that you uncovered your connection to happiness through your morning routines. Mm-hmm. And the self-care aspect. And we've often said that self-care is not selfish. And I do tend to agree with you that, when we say self-care, sometimes, people may think it's shallow, but it's really not.
No, not at all. Well, I could tell you how I got here, yes. How I got to this understanding. So I can go really back when I was growing up in a very conservative, strict, traditional environment. So I grew up in Indonesia. So it's predominantly Muslim. And they're very traditional. But then I was also growing up in this traditional Chinese family where they are also very traditional. And then I also went to Catholic church and Catholic school from kindergarten to college. Yeah, so 12 years of education of, well, it's not just a Catholic church, a Catholic school. That's like, trying to nail it down to me, the fear of God, it's all just like really controlling, right? It was a lot of shame, a lot of pressure, a lot of limiting beliefs. I was growing up with I was made to believe that this is all I am as a woman. I can't be more because, of course, you're a girl, right? And so I was supposed to be this, idea of a woman that my parents thought I should be. And so that's what I was pretty much. And, any expression that is out of the box, I would be beaten back so badly into the box of conformity. So there was a lot of abuse, a lot of shaming, a lot of punishing. And so the mornings to me, waking up to that kind of environment, waking up to a day in a school where I know that I'd be punished by corporal punishment, or because I was never good enough at school, I was never good enough as a person, I was never good enough as a daughter, right? And I didn't have any friends. That was so hard to wake up to. And so, it was so safe in bed, right? Just like hiding there. And oh my gosh, I have to get up to, I don't know, probably like, being scolded or beaten, like, back in school again. It was I had a lot of anxiety that at that point I didn't even know about, right? And then my parents had a very toxic relationship. And so I was never really exposed to anything, that reflects healthy relationship. Like, even outside of me, outside of the family, is the Muslim community that's always like judging, right? Oh, you got your shoulders showing, you got too much leg showing. Oh, you're such a slut. I got a lot of slut shaming in my teenage years. And so it was just like, it was never comfortable being in my body. I was never present. I was just really unhappy all through my childhood, teenagehood, and I carried that energy of not liking to wake up, and the days will be depressing, and like life is so hard. When I got my first job, and when I got married, probably things got a little better, right? Like there's romance. And when I was in these relationships that finally got toxic, but then, those were my escape, right? And then I became a mother at some point. And the energy of not liking the mornings, like having to take care of other people, that expectations that fell on me as a woman that I learned from my conditioning, from the way that my mother raised us, as a traditional woman, that became my story. And so I was depleted, I was exhausted, I was not sleeping for months, but it was okay because, this is what a woman should be. And like when I had to take a nap, I would feel so guilty for taking a nap. It was all very, I don't know. It was just like really exhausting and a depleting environment, and like everything that I was going through. And so because of that, it was hurting my relationship with myself. I would look at the mirror and I would be disgusted with my reflection, and my relationships with everybody else around me. Just got hurt because of that. And my relationship with my ex-husband also crumbled, and I was not emotionally available as a mother. And at some point, because nobody could bear me, because I was so confrontational, I was so angry all the time, and everything was a trigger for me. And at some point I got a divorce. And so I got out of the house that I was living in with my ex-husband and went to West Hartford. And that was the time when I got some time for myself, actually sat with me and listened to what I needed. And at that point, I still had a job that I did not like. Right. Well, before that, I also had a job that I did not like, but then I had to come home and again, be a wife, be the housekeeper, be the cook, be the cleaner, and, be a teacher again to my son. And of course, that was probably the source of the depletion. And when I got out of it, things changed. And I started to question myself. Yeah, you were saying.
Yeah, I wanted to interject for a moment, because one thing I picked out from there is the box of conformity.
Yes.
You, from how you were raised, what you knew about what you were supposedly taught or what you learn through being in that environment. Do you think because of the different conformities that happen, for instance, throughout your life, I mean, that's all that you knew. Do you think that you further put yourself into that box of conformity because without having the knowledge on what to do maybe or how to do it, if that makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. That's all I knew. Right. Yeah, of course. That's really an interesting question because I think at that point I knew what would be a better world. But because I for so many years that what I was told and that's what I was conditioned. It was a lot of self-criticism, a lot of pressure, a lot of expectations that was put on me. Right at that point, it felt suffocating. But then to a point, I numbed myself and started to think that that was the normal thing, right? And I started internalizing it. And up to a point, I became the person who automatically criticizes myself. I became the one who was putting the pressure on myself and the expectations. Because, yeah, of course, at that point when I became a mother, nobody was telling me what I should do, but I was carrying all that culture and all that energy from how I was raised, and I became the embodiment of that, and it was, wow, really self-separating. It was very dehumanizing, and I looking back, I wasn't myself at all. I was really separated from the truth of who I was or who I am.
Wow. Carol Sue, you know, as I'm listening to this, you know, I'm thinking too that, you know, at what point, like, do you get to that realization where, okay, this has happened, I know I need to change. Like, we've often talked about change, and that's hard work.
It is hard work. And I think the key piece to is recognizing all these different things that are going on in our life, what we were brought up with, what is different for us. You have to really come out of your comfort zone, and you have to say, well, what I matter, you know, what I'm feeling, I have to validate that. I don't think women do that as a whole. We think it's like selfish, you know, because we're nurturing by nature, we're giving, and we should kind of have our shista together at all times. And the fact of the matter is, we don't. You know, life is a journey. What may have worked for our parents may not necessarily work for us. You know, I remember when, you know, we started having children again, like our mom didn't like really talk about, you know, motherhood. She was an entrepreneur born out of her time, really. And, you know, there wasn't the resources that there are today, and or the liberation to be authentically us and be raw and real and say, you know what, it ain't working, I need help. Back then you hit it and you performed in such a way that most people didn't realize that you didn't have your act together.
That is so true. Thank you for sharing that, because Jenny, I think too that, you know, when you're in that motherhood mode and you're exhausted, it's like, okay, now how do I find time for myself? But I think I'm really curious to find out. So now you're in West Hartford, and was it like you woke up one morning and you said, okay, I need to change this shite that I'm feeling?
Oh, thank you for that question. Yeah, that brought me to this transition. It was really this vacation that I took in Hawaii. And at that point, I still hated my job. It was me coming to my work and, okay, do my lesson plans, submit the lesson plans, and I get the kids to do their work. I'm a teacher, by the way. And all right, just leave me alone, do your work and take my paycheck and go home, and I was this hamster wheel, right, of monotony, and I still carried that energy of waking up to a day, to a work, to a job that I did not like, that I hated really with passion. And then at some point I went to Hawaii, and there was this one morning, I was staying at a hostel, and then somebody said, hey, it was early in the morning, it was probably like 5:45 or 5:40. Did you guys see that sunrise? And I was like, oh my gosh, it's so early. What are you talking about? And so I got up. It's like, okay, I'm already up anyway. And let me go to the porch and, see what the big deal is. And okay, beautiful sunrise. And there were other people there. Then like when it was all over, it was 6:05 or 6:10. And I thought, okay, I'm already awake anyway. And there was all these people, and I started talking to these people. And then I realized, oh, I'm like 2 hours ahead of when I'm supposed to wake up and start my day. Then I realized, oh, then I guess we could go here now. And then I realized that, oh, the earlier I wake up, the more fun things I could do, the more fun places I could go to, the more fun people I could meet, right?
Okay.
And so
Jenny,
the
are you still
rest-
there?
Yeah, and everybody okay?
Can you
Yeah, I'm okay. I apologize. I've got to, this is what happens when you're an entrepreneur and you're on the road. I've got a couple of people waiting for these computers, so I got to bring them over. Plus, it's very noisy where I'm in. I'm actually in the beginning part of the hotel, so it's very noisy here. But everything you've already said is so impactful and relatable, Jenny Lee. And I think that message that you are really letting people know is going to add so much valuable information, but also validate with a lot of us feel that are, I don't want to use the word afraid, but we're kind of self-conscious. Like people think I have it all together as a mom in my profession, entrepreneur, and you're really sharing that it's okay to kind of regroup and rework what works for you. So I applaud you for that. I hope that you come back on, and I'm going to jump off and you guys continue the conversation, because guess what? I'm going to go back and watch you two go at it.
Nice seeing you, Sissy.
Okay. Bye. Okay. So should I continue?
Absolutely.
Okay. And so after that realization, for the rest of that holiday, for the next 3 weeks, I was waking up early because I was so excited about what the day would provide, right? I was excited for all the exciting things that I anticipated. And so that really reminded me of when I was in school. I hated school, like I told you before, but when there was a field trip the next day, I would have a hard time sleeping because I would be so excited. I would wake up so early because I was so excited about the field trip, right? It's something so different than, I guess, going to class, learning things that I don't want to learn and all of that. And so after the holiday, I went back to Connecticut, back to a job that I did not like, back to real life, right? Oh my gosh. Seriously, going back to this life and back to this, whole depressive, mopey mood that I had been before the holiday. And I woke up one morning a little too early, and I just thought, okay, this is just so miserable. I can't keep doing this. Like, what can I do? But then because it was too early and I was like already awake anyway, okay, what can I do to make this feel a little better? Because something that I realized is that when our body and our mind are so used to depressive mood, we get addicted to that, and that becomes a comfort zone. Stress hormones is actually more addictive than nicotine, cortisol. And it can be hard to get out of when the discomfort becomes your comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
Have something to say about that?
Yeah, because think about that for a moment, what you just said, the mind-body connection, even though we know it may not be good for us, it's still a normalization.
Yes.
Which is a comfort zone. And who doesn't like being normal, even though we know it's not good for us?
Yeah.
The body, the mind is used to that.
Yeah, exactly. that's exactly what I was feeling, right? And so I had in mind, okay, maybe I could just play some music. But I had this resistance because I was so used to depressive mornings, right? Like I was so used to just like mornings dragging myself for so many years. It's like, okay, let me just like try to turn on this music for a couple of minutes. It's like, oh my gosh, I finally turned that on. And you know what? Oh my gosh, the mood feels so much lighter now. And then maybe I could try to move my body for a little bit. Even then, there was resistance. Okay, let me just move it a little bit. Then it got easier. Then I started to just like dance with it. But there was so much resistance just for me to turn on the music, just for me to move my body. And then I finally just danced for the next couple of minutes. And then I felt so good. Right? Yeah, I guess like, there was some questions like, why was I resisting it? Why did I resist feeling good?
Okay,
Mm,
I want you to answer that question.
yeah, because I was so used to being depressed. I was so used to dragging myself. Like, I was so used to the heaviness that I feel first thing I wake up in the morning. Right? I was so used to the unhappiness. And there was this resistance. And when something happier, something that's a little more joyful, that is an alien for your body and your mind.
Mhm.
Right? And so you just like what I did was really I had to actually push myself to just turn on that play button so some fun music could play, and then my body would just follow. Right? Then after that, I was dancing to maybe 1.5 songs, and I felt, oh, this is not bad at all. Maybe I should do that again. So the next morning, I woke up a little early, maybe a couple more minutes, and I thought, maybe I should do this tomorrow. And I would wake up 10 minutes early just so I could dance to a couple of more songs. So that's what I did. And then I realized I was having so much fun. And then the next morning, 10 minutes dancing to 2 or 3 more songs. And after a couple of weeks, I decided to add 5 more minutes so I could have more fun because I was having a good time just dancing. And I was doing that for maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and I added a couple of more minutes, maybe 4 songs then. And I was like, this is so great. Then I would go to work with my mood so much more uplifted and things so much, I actually dealt with things with less stress. I was not as reactive. Before I felt like I was so controlling because I was operating in so much fear. And at that point, for a couple of weeks, I was so relaxed that nothing really mattered. I was not reacting to negative news or, some kids misbehaving. I felt like I had more compassion for them. I had more understanding. So I work with Hartford Public School, inner city school, and a lot of the students come from challenging environments, environments that are like probably infested with violence and drugs and gang violence and all that. They come to school also exhausted and in need of love, which I could not give at that time when I was depressed and exhausted. But because I was in a better place at that point, I could actually have a conversation with them. I could actually open up with them. I could actually enjoy my conversations with them.
I got the chills, not just because I'm cold, but I got the chills in a way because as I'm listening to you describe that, where before you miserable in the morning, you hate your job, and now you started doing little things in the morning that kind of like changed your routine. You felt the resistance, but you continued with it. So I'm feeling that the question is, do you have a sense of appreciation now for that resistance?
That resistance got me realized of how comfortable I was but it was also so many years, right, in that depressive mood. But yes, I do appreciate that because without that, that contrast, I won't be appreciating how different things are right now. Like, how much of contrast it is. And it's like, wow, how dark it was over there. And now I'm on the other side. Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm actually like far at the end of the tunnel and beyond, right? And I'm like looking back, wow, thank you so much for catapulting me, for inspiring me to be on the other side. It's that's how I feel now. But going back to that routine, because I was having so much fun, like at that point, it was probably like 20 minutes of dancing, and probably like I was doing other things like challenge. Then I learned about breath work and meditation and ice cold shower and different challenges, like maybe some difficult yoga poses or difficult dance steps. And I would just put 5 more minutes here, 5 more minutes there. And then I learned about juicing. So I added 20 more minutes, and everything just became this routine of me just having fun with myself, right? And the audiobook. And it became this inspiring, soul nourishing, and emotionally satisfying activities only for myself. And it became this 2-hour routine. And I would go to school, go to work, just happy and, saying hi to everybody. Nothing would actually get me out of this balance right now, because I'm just a happy person at this point, and so that's the difference. And I should probably also address, like, on a maybe logical point of view, right? I don't know if this is like from a scientific point of view. In the morning, your brain is in this delta wave, which is when you just wake up and delta is in this deep sleep state, right? And it's also in between theta brainwave, which is when you just wake up and it's groggy, but the scientists would call that the hypnotic state. And so that is the state when the brain is the most malleable, the most impressionable. So when you wake up positive, maybe when you wake up with gratitude, when you wake up knowing that you're going to do something fun for yourself, you're going to do something that you're eager to wake up to, those are the seeds that's going to grow into this big, positive, beautiful trees, right? With all the beautiful fruits that you're going to give to everybody else. So there you go. And when you do that on a consistent basis, your mind and your body would take that as an association, getting up in the morning, positive and fun and, nourishing thing for you. And, that would express in your cells, in your personality, and you become this different person. I mean, try that for a week and see, right? Because the thing is, a lot of people are so, they're like, oh, okay, even me, right? We're all caged in this idea of what we should do to be a good person, whatever is expected by the society of, what it is like to be a decent person. What about the things that, that you want to do, the things that give you joy, what makes you happy, and the music and the dance? And those things that I do, those are not the things that I feel like I should do. No, those are things that I want to do for myself because they give me joy. They make me happy, right?
Yeah.
And that's where the connection is. That's how I connect with myself. That's how I cultivate presence. Because when I'm having fun, I'm present in my body. I feel safe. And when you're doing this on a consistent basis, you're healing your nervous system. I was living in such a dysregulated nervous system for so long. It was a life of trauma response because it was so much punishment, it was so much abuse that everything gave me anxiety. But because I made time to just have fun with me, to just connect with myself and listen to what I need and keep on giving that to myself and keep on nourishing myself for so long, it's like, my body feels safe, my mind feels safe, my body feels safe. Then now it's time for me to be creative. Like my heart is open, I'm having so much fun. I'm such a happier person now. So yeah, I know, like, I hope that makes sense to you.
But I will share something funny with you. You
Yeah.
mentioned an ice cold shower. That would not make me happy. No way in hell. I did try that once.
Mm-hmm.
Hated it. Not happening again. But anyways.
It's okay. If it doesn't work for you, it's okay.
Absolutely.
Because the point is, what makes you happy?
Right. And, and I've often shared this a lot of times. Sometimes if I'm, stressed out or, I try to set the timer on my phone, because I'm at my desk a lot, to get up, each hour and move around, walk around the house, take the dog for a walk, whatever it is. And that, I love doing that, but we get so caught up in what we're doing, whatever we can do to, make ourselves happy is always a good thing. So now you're doing this routine. How do clients find you? In other words, because you also work full time.
Oh yeah. I'm on Instagram. I mean, like right now, I'm not at work and I'm having fun connecting with you. And this whole activity really got me to this habit of choosing what gives me joy, because that's my habit in the morning that I've been doing every morning, right, for so many years, and it creates some kind of a boundary. So if it doesn't feel good, I'm going to avoid it. I'm going to step out of it. And so, yeah, I'd be happy to connect with everyone that, that feel that this is resonating with them. I'm active on Facebook and Instagram. On Instagram, you can find me at Sunny Jenny Lee. And as for Facebook, I'll give you the link to my Facebook page. And I also have a Facebook group called Burned Out Mom Support, because I relate with so many mothers who forget to take care of themselves because they wear all these hats, all these different hats, and they take care of everyone else but themselves. And maybe there needs to be an understanding that women, moms, busy women, they are the glue of society. They are the glue of community. They're the glue of the family. Without them, none of these things exist. And I think that's what a lot of us need to consider, right? You cannot grow anything out of dry soil. When people are using the cup, right, metaphor, I like to use the soil. In order for the soil to grow anything, you need to first put a lot of love in it, fertilize it, put a lot of attention. And then it becomes this fertile soil from which the tree will grow beautiful fruits that nourish everybody else. Right? And so think of yourself as that. Yeah, and so that's why your well-being needs to be prioritized.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more. And at TwoSistas, I should say, TwoSistas with TwoSistas, that's really what we kind of advocate for. And that's why we have, Monday through Friday, we have different themed days. And it's all about, realizing what the potential of that self-care can be, not only to ourselves, but to our families and potentially to our jobs, of course, and perhaps our communities. And I just think that that's amazing. What do you think is one big goal that you want to attain for what you are feeling in your heart? Because when you talk about it, you talk about it with such passion, and your face lights up and you're just like, I'm ready to go here. So what's one big goal for Jenny Lee that you see with what you're doing?
Oh, thank you for that question. I came to this understanding that what every human desires is really to be happy. But a lot of us are so conditioned, are so caught up with our conditioning, with the shoulds, when it's so irrelevant with our humanity. And my way, my approach is for us to get in touch again with the truth of who we are, who like to have fun, who want to be happy, who lean in joy, right? Connection with other humans. And that's what I really want to do. When you are happy, you are training your body, your nervous system, your mind to be happy. You are creating this happy inner environment, which then projects in your world, in a happier world, right? You attract happier people, and then you know what it takes to be happy and joyful. And another thing too, why I focus on mothers, right? So I grew up with a mother who was depleted and exhausted too, and because of that, she was creating a negative environment for children to grow up in, and that's why it was traumatic growing up in that kind of environment, because she was always stressed out. But then imagine that energy that's passed down on me, and if I didn't heal, I would pass that down to my children, right? But what if we make sure that our mothers are happy and nourished, and they know how to take care of themselves, and they would make happy families. They would pass down that happy energy to their children, and their children would pass down that joy to the next generation and the next generation. Like, how much of a happy world would we have that way?
Exactly. We all want to be happy, and sometimes we look for that happiness, but we're not sure where to find it, or we're not sure what we are happy about or how to get happy. This has been so amazing, such an amazing conversation with you this evening. What makes you happy other than what you've described already? What makes you happy?
Wow, a lot really. You know what? Probably just being myself. Like right now, I'm really happy because I'm connecting with you. I'm connecting with someone new, and that's expanding my world. And just knowing that, it's so refreshing, it's rejuvenating, it's energizing.
And we're in the same state.
Yes. Oh, we should definitely go grab coffee sometimes.
I love that.
How fun is that? Yeah, exactly. It's that fun. And another thing that I find really expensive and joyful is traveling. Because in that process of traveling, it's an experience where I allow myself to be out of my habits. I'm allowed to get to know all these other aspects that I didn't know about myself, because I'm in a completely new territory and a completely new group of people. Because before, like, I was trained a certain way how to deal with people, but like, what if they're of a different culture? And you know what? And what really makes me happy is that I would just like let my primal, or whatever is natural nature of myself, just connect with them, because then you know what it is? It's love. Then I realized that everywhere I go, there is love, you know. Wow. Yeah. Because you know, in Western society, because we're so caught up with, you know, certain culture, like, you know, with our civilization, with how, you know, with the pressure and expectations of what civilized humans should be, we forget our own nature. We forget that what we really want is just love and connection. And when you go outside of that society, when you go outside of the norm, and, you know, to a group of people who are strangers to all of these norms and codes and rules, right? And they're just being themselves. And, you know, like, you know, what's really true about them that they could express to you is that they're loving too. And they just expressing it in their own way. And that's like the most beautiful thing. And I experienced that when I was in Thailand, when I was in smaller parts of Indonesia, and, you know, like parts of, well, and other places that are almost untouched by modernization. They're just very, very loving people. So
That's great.
yeah.
That is great. So today's question of the day, my sister and I normally have a question of the day. Obviously, it will be the question of the evening or however we want to word it, but I will share it with everyone right now. What makes you happy? You can comment below the live of this video on our Facebook page. And of course, we are all over the place on Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram. And of course, I will make sure, I probably will be uploading this tomorrow morning. But you can always go to, excuse me, our website, www.TwoSistas.online. On the right-hand side, there's a little microphone and it says send voicemail or voice message. You can click on that and leave us a voice message. We would love to hear from you. What makes you happy? Because I think we need more happy in the world tonight. Jenny, I want to thank, you know, Carol Sue and I, of course, thank you so much for being here this evening. I hope you will definitely consider coming back and visiting us again real soon.
Yes, of course.
And I will take you up on that cup of coffee, but I am not doing the cold shower thing, just so.
Understood. Yeah.
But you know what? This is Trending Thursday at Night. Again, the question of the day, what makes you happy? My name is Janice Malillo, aka Wellness Diva 5.0, and I was previously here with my co-host, my sister, amazing sister, Carol Sue, aka Naughty Boss. Thank you so much, Jenny. And we shall see you all again very soon. Bye for now.
Yay. What do you think?